Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you. I was wrestling through the technology there, but I could see you. Thanks for getting me on. Should we dive in?
That sounds great.
All right. Well, first of all, Jenna, Gretchen, Darren, it's great to see you. Thank you for leading this webinar today. This is another in a series of webinars being hosted by the city's Resource and Recovery Center. This is this virtual center set up during the COVID-19 emergency to try to respond to the needs of Burlingtonians and Burlington workers and businesses in every way we can. And this webinar today is focused on how you can use this time to make your buildings more energy efficient. One of the things I love about this topic is it's really making good on this idea that while we are dealing with this hot COVID-19 emergency, we are doing our best to keep focus as well on our other longer term emergency, the climate crisis, and make sure that wherever possible we are making investments, interventions, changes where we have the opportunity to make progress on both fronts. And the green stimulus package that the Burlington Electric Department released in the early weeks of this emergency is a great tool for doing just that. We have released or accelerated $800,000 worth of credits, incentives that in part are available for building owners who want to do what we are talking about today, making your buildings more energy efficient. And this I don't think I have too much more to say about it. I think I should get out of the way and let the experts take over and get to the details. It's great. I see we have a bunch of participants, people who want to understand the details of these initiatives. Fundamentally, I think what we are trying to do with the green stimulus is make these incentive plans even more appealing than they were before the crisis. We see the months coming out of this emergency as an opportunity to address some pent-up demand and ensure that the kind of economic activity that recovers in the months ahead is as focused as much as possible on these green initiatives. I think there's a further opportunity we've talked about several times, and maybe will come up in today's conversations. There's real potential for property taxpayers who are getting other stimulus payments in this period from the federal government to layer those other stimulus payments, if you're in position to do so, on top of the green stimulus incentives, and really find a way to make progress on projects that you might have thought were not in your reach at this point. These two stimulus plans may really change the economics of that. So with that, thanks for the opportunity to kick things off. Thank you again to our panelists for leading this effort. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Great. Thank you so much, Mayor Weinberger. It's great to have you join us, and thanks for kicking things off. I so appreciate you taking the time, everybody, to join us today, and a big thank you to the Burlington Resource and Recovery Center for hosting today's special webinar focused on snoozing your building and saving money during COVID-19 and beyond. I am honored to be moderating today's webinar with featured panelists from Burlington Electric Department. If you do not know who I am, my name is Jenna Antonino Damari, and I have the pleasure of directing the Burlington 2030 District, a private-public partnership working to reduce building energy consumption, water usage, and transportation emissions 50% by the year 2030. We work with property owners throughout the city to reduce operating costs, increase asset value, and help create a healthier community. With nearly 9 million square feet currently committed to the Burlington 2030 District goals, we are so glad to partner closely with our local utilities and grateful to have the commitment of so many leading City of Burlington properties, institutions, and businesses. I know many of our Burlington 2030 District property owner members are joining today's webinar. Thank you for being here during this unprecedented time. I hope everyone is hanging in there, feeling healthy, and doing as well as can be. For folks interested and not yet officially a member of the Burlington 2030 District, please know that I'll post my contact info in the chat section of this webinar. So please feel free to reach out to me directly to learn more about what it means to become a member of the Burlington 2030 District. This is a free, voluntary initiative to mitigate our climate change impact and work towards the city's important net zero energy vision. We offer some fantastic free benefits, and all properties in the city of Burlington are welcome to participate. So during today's webinar, we will first be hearing from Burlington Electric Department's General Manager, Darren Springer. He will be speaking to us about the Green Stimulus Program. And then we will hear from Burlington Electric Department's Energy Services Engineer, Gretchen Schimmelpfennig. Gretchen will be discussing energy efficiency tips and ways that you can potentially save energy and money in your underutilized or unoccupied commercial buildings. And then we'll close the webinar with a live Q&A. And of course, throughout, please feel free to chime in the Q&A section if you have any pressing questions, and we'll do our best to address them as we're going. So without further ado, thank you again, everyone, for joining us. And I have the pleasure of introducing Darren Springer, General Manager of Burlington Electric Department. Thanks, Darren, for being here.
Great, thank you, Jenna. Thanks for moderating the webinar. Glad to be a part of this, and want to just say that before we talk about the green stimulus package, we understand at BED this is a very, very challenging time for our customers, and we're doing a number of things to help in the immediate term in terms of relief. And just want to encourage folks who need any assistance to go to burlingtonelectric.com. Our customer care team, our energy services team are all working during this time and available to help if people have questions or need assistance. So thanks to the RRC for hosting this. Thanks, Jenna, and the District 2030 for being part of it. And we're going to talk a little bit about the green stimulus effort that the mayor actually announced in the State of the City address this year, and which BED is launching to really support the goal of having a positive role for economic recovery in our community as we get to a point where public health allows broader economic activity to resume, and also play a role in accelerating our net zero energy progress. We have not taken our eye off the ball on net zero energy. We know it's a continued priority for the city and for BED. And so starting with the green stimulus, anyone who is interested in more information, you can see the website address, burlingtonelectric.com/green stimulus on this slide. Has some program details and will be updated regularly. And what the mayor mentioned, $800,000 in funding. And what we're doing right now is looking at taking some carry forward funds from prior year 2019 funds and being able to repurpose those for the purpose of supporting the green stimulus. And we have the filing, and now we've made a filing at the PUC, the Public Utility Commission in Vermont, and we have essentially laid out the proposal, and we have a timeline actually this week where BED is going to provide some additional comment to the Public Utility Commission. And then we have a couple weeks where the Department of Public Service and others may weigh in. And then we're hoping for a relatively expeditious decision by the Public Utility Commission to allow us to launch these programs formally at that point. In terms of the priorities, we really tried to focus the green stimulus on programs that support our low and moderate income customers, that support both renters and homeowners, that support small businesses, support nonprofits, and support the entire community in terms of economic recovery. So as you'll see on the website, if you go there, we've laid out the programs in terms of relief and then recovery efforts that support both the residential and commercial sectors in Burlington. I'll talk next, I believe, just about the relief programs before we get into some of the green stimulus programs. And again, you can see our number here if anybody needs assistance and our contact for energy services. We did launch several initiatives early in this crisis to help our customers. We did suspend disconnections for non-payment, and that's suspended until further notice. We don't have a date where that will come back in yet, but we'll update our community when that's happening. Late fees also suspended until further notice. There will be no late fees on any customers during this crisis. And then we have already offered in the past budget billing plans for our residential customers, and we're now offering that for our commercial customers as well. And what that means is you can have an energy bill from Burlington Electric that is flat payment, equal payment each month. It doesn't fluctuate month to month. You can plan and predict for your energy costs in a more kind of stable way through the budget payment plan. So please contact us if you need access to any of those services, and we'd be glad to help. So moving into the green stimulus funding opportunities, the programs that we're going to be launching with PUC approval. So on-bill financing, we currently offer for our small commercial customers and nonprofits the access to financing that you can pay back through your electric bill each month for energy efficiency projects. What we're talking about with the green stimulus, which is very exciting, and we have a similar program for residential customers, is having zero interest loans for up to 7-year terms that would also potentially include energy savings guarantees where they're needed. We know that people are not going to have cash necessarily to fund projects, even if the incentives are terrific, and they are going to be very good incentives, but we want to provide very good access to capital, access to financing to help make these projects cash flow neutral or even positive starting on day one. So that's one of the new initiatives as part of the green stimulus. We also, as I mentioned, have some incentive changes that will affect the commercial sector, which is what we're talking about on today's webinar primarily, and several different new incentives that we are seeking to launch. So you can see here, we are proposing up to $1,000 to help with the cost of programming HVAC building controls to help reduce energy use and potentially reduce peak energy use as well. We are cognizant that people may be facing the need to replace failed heating and cooling equipment during this time. And what we're looking at doing is trying to make the incremental cost of going with the energy efficient option essentially neutral. We want to help with incentives to make the energy efficient option the affordable option. We also, for our commercial customers, and this will apply as well for residential, are boosting incentives for heat pumps. And that includes cold climate heat pumps, variable refrigerant flow heat pumps. And we're looking at trying to have a bonus above and beyond what we currently provide to help make those systems even more affordable. And then another new initiative that's exciting is some areas, some businesses are looking at geothermal heat pumps as well. Sometimes getting a test well to determine if you're a good candidate for that can have a significant cost associated with it. So one of our proposals is to cover a portion or perhaps as much as all of the cost, depending on how much it is, of those test wells for a customer if they ultimately decide to install a geothermal heat pump or another heat pump or VRF system. So those are some of the cash incentives that we're offering as part of the green stimulus program. As I noted, there are a number of residential incentives as well, focused on weatherization and heat pumps. We also have a proposal to temporarily boost our electric vehicle incentives for all customers. And we also have some e-bike incentive changes as well to help our low moderate income customers. So really a full suite of programs that we're looking at. And what we'll be able to do is update the website as these programs go live in the coming weeks. Currently, there are already a couple of programs live on the residential side, and we'll be updating the website to provide more information as these commercial programs go live, pending PUC approval. And they're really meant to be, you know, these are time-limited programs that would happen in 2020 to help support the economic recovery. So I think that's a good summary of the green stimulus, and I'll look forward to answering any questions if there are later in the program, and hand it back to you, Jenna.
Great. Thank you so much, Darren. That was fantastic. Next, I'm going to introduce Gretchen Schimmelpfennig, Energy Services Engineer, who will be talking about energy efficiency tips. So take it away, Gretchen.
Thanks, Jenna. So today I'm going to talk about ways to save in your commercial building, specifically small businesses with different sources of electricity usage that may be contributing to a bill that's not as low as you expect it to be right now, or a bill that you could hope to reduce for the long term. So we're going to talk about a few strategies, and if you have questions or chats, please pop pop them in the Q&A or in the chat, and Jenna and Adam will help me get those so that I can interact with you guys as I speak. So first of all, if you're not familiar with Usage Tracker, we have a website that allows you to see your 15-minute interval data so you can see what's on while you're away. So this is helpful to see what equipment is on while you're asleep or while you expected your business to be sleeping. This works for both residential and commercial accounts. If you contact BED Energy Services, we can help give you some technical solutions to help shut down equipment to help your building take a nap. We can also provide no-touch energy audits via Teams, Zoom, whichever platform you prefer. That way we can help you virtually. And we can also help you interpret your bill and understand the different costs that are included. So email us, call us. We are your free energy efficiency experts. I'm going to dive into a few sources of energy usage, specifically electricity usage, that you have in small and medium businesses. I'm going to describe some low-cost ways to save money now, as well as some programs that we have to offer to customers to financially support energy efficiency in commercial buildings, as well as Darren's notes about the net zero energy incentives that go above and beyond efficiency and also help you save fossil fuel energy. So take a look at this website that's on the slide right now. This is a portal for commercial energy customers where you can get a lot of the information that I'm going to review today. This is also being recorded, so if you miss anything, you'll be able to watch it again. Not every small business has refrigeration, but those that do, it's a very large portion of their electricity load. One note before I dive into this, some rebates on this slide are described as instant discounts, which means that the cost of efficient equipment is bought down at your point of purchase. So you'll just see a lower purchase price. Some are rebates, which require you to fill out a form and submit it to BED to get some cash back. And some offers are incentives, which are custom calculated by BED and may be paid in 2 parts. And those are sometimes given before or after the installation of efficient equipment or controls. And so some of the notes that Darren made about bonus incentives, those refer to a lot of our custom incentives, and some of them refer to rebates. Regarding refrigeration, we're here to help you with failing equipment, deep energy retrofits, as well as fixing refrigerant leaks. There are a bunch of different sources of refrigeration, and even an office building has refrigeration. So I'm going to talk about a few things here. Ice makers. Unplug your ice maker if you don't need to make any ice. If you're still making ice, check that you have a bin level sensor, which tells your ice machine how much ice to make a day. If you put the bin level sensor down, it's going to make less ice and use less electricity. Some models also have eco or efficiency modes. So check out the control panel of your ice maker and see if that has an option for you. If you have an older ice maker, you can replace with an Energy Star option and get a $75 rebate. That can be done on bill financing or other options if you can't pay for these machines right off first cost all the way. So talk to Energy Services if you want to know how you can pay for some of these products that I talk about. Refrigerated cases. Oops, sorry, I used the wrong mouse here. I have my notes on another computer, so give me a moment. Refrigerated cases. If you don't have doors on your refrigerated cases, we offer rebates to put doors on them, $200 per linear foot. If you have a plug-in fridge or freezer, like most businesses, keep your temperature range moderate. A temperature setting 10 degrees lower can increase your usage by 25%. Keep your fridges full, and if you have a lot of solid door fridges in your kitchen, consolidate food into 1 or 2 to keep fewer, fuller fridges running. If you're no longer storing meat or fish, food safety requirements no longer apply, so you can consider raising the temperature setting depending on a case-by-case basis. Set your refrigerators to 37 to 40 degrees so they can work at peak efficiency if you're still using them. Replace old fridges with Energy Star, and you can get $200 to $400 rebates from BED now, and we might be able to increase those depending on what approval we get. We also offer $100 bonuses for natural refrigerants. If you have a chest freezer or a solid door freezer, set your freezer to 0 to 5 degrees, and ensure that you understand what setting is the warm side if you have a model that has a dial or a setting that has numbers like 0 to 7. Often 7 is the coldest. Walk-ins, if you have a walk-in cooler or a freezer, that's probably the largest source of your base electric load. For many food service businesses, this is what's on when everything else is off. Control your existing equipment better by talking to BED to get incentives for controls projects on controlling your evaporator fan motor or your floating head pressure to save energy in your refrigeration system. You can also get money back to upgrade to Q-Sync motors. And we also can help you replace old refrigeration equipment entirely by working with local qualified distributors to purchase high efficiency evaporator equipment and high efficiency condensing unit equipment. You can get up to $1,500 off at the distributor for evaporator equipment and up to $1,200 off at, for condenser units. Contact us for help. We can help you select efficient equipment as well as find local distributors to get your instant discounts. Last thing on refrigeration, refrigerants leak. If you have a big but not super big refrigerant system, i.e. you have compressors that are less than 15 horsepower, we can cover up to 80% of the costs for leak detection and repair, meaning that we won't cover what's charged back into your system or any big components that are replaced, but we'll cover the costs of someone, a leak detection contractor qualified to serve Burlington, to check for leaks and then repair them, which saves energy and also saves emissions and helps us reach net zero energy goals. Thermostats. Pretty much every business has one of these, and you may have a different type of thermostat, so I'll cover some options here. First, before you go to the thermostat, close your shades and curtains to reduce solar heat gain as the weather's getting warmer so that you can save on air conditioning. The big point about thermostats is set points and schedules. So for set points, that means in cool weather, we want to decrease the heating set point to 60 degrees Fahrenheit so your heating system doesn't come on. Entering warmer weather, we can also think about our cooling set points and make sure that they're higher than 80 degrees. If you can handle that in an unoccupied building, it should be able to. Schedules, if you have a weekday or weekend setting on your thermostat, or you're able to program every individual 7 days, check out what time of day and what temperature set point is corresponding to that time of that day. A lot of thermostats have wake, leave, return, and then sleep, as if it's a residential house where someone wakes up, leaves for work, returns back home, and then goes to sleep. So make sure you understand what your thermostat means. Again, you can have a no-touch energy audit with anyone from Energy Services, and we're happy to walk you through on how to adjust your thermostat to save energy. We also are offering some help to understand modes of your thermostat. So make sure to set your thermostat to auto, which will automatically switch between heating and cooling, which is especially important in this springtime season. And then also avoid setting your fan to on, which makes the fan run all the time. Set it to auto, which means the fan will run whenever it's heating and cooling. If you set it to off, you might have some poor air quality. So just consider what you do in the spaces that you're serving. As Darren mentioned, we're offering boosted incentives for replacing failing HVAC equipment, which will ultimately help you save money in this area. And if you have a building automation system, talk with us to cover up to $1,000 for controls programming to save electricity. And to save money right now, consider updating the schedule in your BAS to unoccupied to reflect your new hours, and consider reducing outside air ventilation rates because there aren't as many people needing fresh air. Hot water. If you have an electric hot water heater, wrap your hot water tank. Do not wrap it if you have a gas hot water tank. Also consider reducing your temperature set point. Most businesses have them set to 140 degrees because that's what the manufacturer set it to, but you can reduce it to a minimum of 120 degrees without any safety problems. Keep in mind that reduced hot water temperature will make your dishwasher work harder. Let's talk about appliances. Dishwashers, speaking of. Hand washing dishes uses twice as much energy and water. So use the dishwasher, but only run full loads and choose low or no heat temperature settings for drying. If you have an electric heating element, that booster heater, it's gonna need to be used more often if you reduce your hot water temperature. Oop, I am so sorry. I went out of this slide again. I'm gonna talk quickly about cooking ranges and ovens. Ranges, we have an incentive for induction cooktops. So if you're thinking of moving away from fossil fuel, you can get an induction cooktop for reduced cost. Convection ovens, we also are offering as well as a bunch of other appliances like griddles, sandwich presses, fryers, food holding cabinets, All this sort of commercial kitchen equipment, we're targeting a date of June 15th for a rollout of new instant discounts on these appliances from local dealers. So contact us to get some help to understand this new program. If you have appliances that are older, they're probably using more energy, and we're here to help you replace them with something new that's going to save money on your bill right away and help fund the purchase of that new equipment. When not in use, unplug. That's the main message of appliances. Lighting. Turn off lighting if it's not necessary for safety or security. Use existing lighting controls for both interior and exterior lighting. If you have exterior lighting fixtures, like for a parking lot, make sure that you don't have a broken photocell, which means that your lights are on even when it's daytime. If it's on a schedule, update the schedule to reflect summer sun to save more energy now. If you have interior occupancy sensing light fixtures or wall switches, make sure that lights are turning off after 30 minutes. Consider changing the occupancy settings to much shorter now because there aren't people in the building. Now might be the time to consider upgrading to LED lighting or improving your lighting controls as well. As Darren said, we're here to boost incentives and get these projects done with on-bill financing and zero interest loans. So talk with us if you have a lighting project in mind or anything else on this list. There are already instant discounts, rebates, and custom incentives available for lighting fixtures, DLC and Energy Star certified LEDs, as well as sensing equipment like daylighting and occupancy sensing, which save energy as well. If you want to talk with us about bonuses, we can give you special incentives for control strategies like high-level trim, bi-level dimming, as well as special incentives for exterior fixtures and stairwell and corridor fixtures, because we can save even more energy there. So talk with us about lighting. We're your lighting experts and can help set you up with qualified distributors and give you advice on qualified fixtures and control strategies. Last on this list is electronics. There's lots of things that are plugged in pretty much every business. So avoid standby power. Check what's charging. If you're a business that has a number of plug-in devices that are charging, if they're already juiced up, unplug them and unplug the charger. Also unplug electronics when they're just not being used. And if you can't control that and it's too much trouble to manually unplug things, consider buying an advanced power strip. These things turn off using a timer, or they're switched off when a controlled device is turned off. So I'm going to go to the summary slide and give some top tips and stop quickly if we have any questions just now that are related. And I just want to see if we have anything in the Q&A that's open while I've been speaking. I know it was a little bit of a long talk. We've got a couple things in the chat. Okay, that's from Jenna. Great. All right, so as I said, for refrigeration, anyone can consolidate food and raise temperature settings in their refrigerator or refrigeration equipment. Close blinds and shades, turn down heat and air conditioning, reduce ventilation, turn down your hot water heater, turn off lights, and unplug all your electronics. Give us a call or give us an email. We're here to help you. Yes, there are concerns of Legionella for unoccupied buildings. I thought below 120. I haven't seen that 120 would cause Legionella, but I believe it's something that minimum of 120 is what's recommended to avoid bacteria development. I definitely don't want to recommend that anyone do anything that would cause safety concerns. So consider tuning down from 140 to perhaps 130 if you have a commercial building with a large hot water system. Mike Gifford is a representative of Vermont Gas, and if you want to pop some recommendations in the chat to expand on your Q&A, that would be really welcome. Thank you, Mike. As Darren mentioned, we have special incentives that are part of the green stimulus that are being approved by the Public Utilities Commission. Stay tuned on what these details and how they'll expand, and follow our website at burlingtonelectric.com/green-stimulus to stay in the loop. So at this time, we are going to go to the Q&A. These are some things that were offered as questions that we hope to answer with this webinar. We hope to help you get your bill to go down. We hope to get your building to take a nap. We hope that you learned about the green stimulus and learned about some extra money you can get for energy efficiency projects.
So feel free to type in any questions in the Q&A box down at the bottom of your webinar screen. If you have any questions for Darren or Gretchen, now is a great time to ask those questions, and we are glad to answer them as best we can. No questions? We'll give another 30 seconds or so if you have one up. I see one question coming in. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Echo.
Thank you, Echo. Thanks for coming. Yes, Vermont Gas, I'd like to share, some of the appliances that I mentioned today, like hot water tanks, hot water heaters and cooking equipment. Vermont Gas is going to be participating in the some of the programs that I alluded to on the gas side. So please let them know if you need help reducing your gas bill during this time. Thank you, Jen. So I didn't talk about benchmarking today. But this is Alexander's question also ties into this. I didn't talk about benchmarking today, but you can save money by benchmarking your building because benchmarking allows you to see how your energy use tracks over time. So if you're not familiar with the 2030 district, one of the main benefits of the 2030 district is benchmarking. So I'll actually let Jenna speak first, and I can chime in about what BED does to support benchmarking on our side.
Sure. Yeah. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, I have the pleasure of directing the Burlington 2030 district. And one of the great benefits of joining the Burlington 2030 district is our team of engineers is able to provide complementary energy benchmarking for one of your properties, and as well as a customized property energy plan. And we have been grateful to partner closely with Burlington Electric Department as well as Vermont Gas. And Burlington Electric Department is now offering automatic upload into Energy Star Portfolio Manager of your monthly electrical bill. And I can let Gretchen kind of talk a little bit more about, what does it mean to use auto upload via Energy Star Portfolio Manager, and what are the benefits of tracking your energy use?
Yeah, so we'll go really high level first. Benchmarking is like getting on the scale, and different people will weigh different amounts, just like different commercial buildings will have different energy intensities. So Alexander asked a question of how many kilowatt hours per occupant meets BED's target energy use. It's a very interesting question because it's sort of like, how do we achieve the net zero energy goal? The way that we are measuring it is by measuring the building. And so we take the annual energy use, electricity, natural gas, renewable energy production on site, delivered fuels, and you add it all up together and you get the building on the scale and you say, is that good or bad comparatively to an average of all the peers? And so that's like all of the grocery stores put on a scale together. Is your grocery store heavier or lighter than the other grocery stores? So benchmarking is what you can do using Portfolio Manager with one or many buildings. And so we've been helping people benchmark by auto uploading the electricity data, because the value of benchmarking comes from looking at your results, like what does the scale say? It doesn't come from the activity of stepping on the scale, which takes a lot of time to enter monthly billing data, which is not a conducive use of business owners' time. So that's why we are offering auto upload. And if you want to learn more, there's information about benchmarking on that commercial website that I put in the webinar, and we're also here to help if you give us a call. The KWH per occupant, I actually would like to ask Katie Mason, one of our 2030 district engineers, as well as Christina Catterman, how is BED's target energy use measured? And it's not kilowatt hours per occupant, so can you help us understand what it is?
Katie and Christina, are you here on the call? If you're not able to speak, perhaps you can type in an answer in the chat there, and Gretchen can relay information.
I think they might not be there, but I just wanted to make sure that if they wanted to offer a thought, they could. So it's easiest to measure buildings by annual energy use divided by square footage. That's the way we do it. Kilowatt hours per occupant would be a hard metric to count because different buildings have different uses. And so it's not really the occupant's job to be the owner of the energy use. It's more of all the systems in the building and what the occupants do. So that's why it's measured on a square foot basis. And Jenna, the target is 0, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so Katie, I will punt to you now. So can you please connect saving money, benchmarking, and net zero energy for us? Oh, it says we can't turn on speaking ability. Adam, would you be able to turn on Katie's speaking ability? They're signed on as CX Associates.
Thanks, Adam.
Yeah, thank you. I think they're panelists now.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is actually Christina. How's everybody doing? Gretchen, can you just repeat your question so I have a better idea of exactly what you're asking?
So we just presented a number of ways commercial building owners can save money in their buildings, primarily by tuning their buildings to take a nap, shutting equipment off, and generally understanding how different appliances and things in their building contribute to their bill. Jen asked us a question about benchmarking and Energy Star Portfolio Manager and how it can help building owners and businesses save money. And so I just wanted to ask, I asked Jenna about 2030 and how benchmarking is a major service of membership. And so I'd love for you to just connect the dots for folks on the call about how benchmarking can help you save money as you do these strategies in your building of tuning things down and shutting things off.
Sure. So when you benchmark a building, we generally recommend that you look at 3 years of historical energy consumption data. So that allows you to look and see how well your building or how your building has been performing for a number of years in order to account for, any unexpected changes due to changes in occupancy or weather, things like that. So looking at 3 years allows you to get more of an understanding of how your building works in general. And then as you implement different energy efficiency strategies or as you do some of these strategies to turn down your building to put it to sleep, you can look, if you continue to record your energy use over time, you'll be able to look and see how your energy use decreased after you implemented those types of strategies. When it comes to the Burlington 2030 district, we are aiming for members to decrease their energy use 50% by the year 2030. So looking at your historical benchmark and how much your building was using at a specific point in time, and then comparing to after you've implemented all these different energy efficiency measures, it gives us an idea of how, whether or not your building is reaching those goals. So we can say, okay, did you actually decrease your building's energy use 50%? Was the Burlington 2030 district as a whole able to decrease its energy use 50%?
Yeah, and thank you so much for that. Benchmarking allows you to see the results of projects that you do, as well as the effect of unexpected things like perhaps a shutdown correlated with a global pandemic. And then after things go back to normal, your historical benchmark will be good to compare against, because then you'll be able to see, am I going back to normal, or am I actually going to go back to a lower operating cost than what I had pre-scenario? Let's see if we have any other questions. Mike, I actually just wanted to offer, can we make Mike a panelist so he could expand a little bit on the hot water temperature question? Because I do want to make sure that that's reflected properly. Sorry to put you on the spot, Mike. Oh, he is gone. Oh, he's back. Can we hear you, Mike?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, great. So I only asked the question is specifically around the 120 degrees because in Vermont Gas Systems has its own service technician team, that goes into homes and works on these pieces of equipment. And so I had actually reached out to them regarding what temperature they would feel comfortable with setting back a commercial unoccupied building's water heater. And they were more comfortable at the 130 range. Now, I haven't read any, we've seen studies throughout time that have shown variability, and these are people who, you know, would be liable, and a company would be liable if we went back and set it. So there may be some extra levels of safety that we're applying to it, but none of them were comfortable with setting a water heater at 120. Now, what the conversation got interesting because it had more to do with the unoccupied space because of the almost zero water movement. That's why it was a concern. So if these are partially occupied spaces where there's still some hand washing, or there's circulator pumps or other aspects of the building operations are going, then potentially 120 what they were more comfortable with because the water wasn't still. So that was the takeaway. But when you start getting below 130 was is the water, how stagnant is the water in these buildings? So it could be more of a case by case basis, and it'd probably be good to talk to a plumbing or heating contractor before doing that. But that was the one concern.
Thank you for expanding on that. It was something that I grabbed from our residential website, and I think it's good to hear that kind of folks fulfilling these obligations as contractors are not comfortable putting it below 130. So let's say if you're going to reduce your hot water set point and it's not your equipment, put it to 130. If it is your equipment and you're willing to claim responsibility for everything that happens, you can reduce it further, but we wouldn't recommend anything below 120, no matter what.
Yeah, and just the last little piece is with a lot of people being at home these days, you know, this could be an opportunity residentially because most people have a mixing valve built into their house, and with most people in their homes more often now, the hot water is actually being used more consistently throughout the day. So setting your own hot water, if you have a mixing valve already, down to 120 would actually not be a bad recommendation. That's from the same people.
Yep. So we'll see if there's any more questions, but I wanted to quickly expand on the question that was asked about kWh per occupant. It might be interesting for people to know that the difference between the small general and large general commercial rates is the 3,000 kilowatt hours per month kind of threshold. So if a commercial customer account uses more than 3,000 kWh per month for more than 3 months in a row, then by regulation, BED has to move them to the large general rate, which makes that customer incur demand charges, which results in a dollars per kW charge, which is something that I can talk about just real quick to help folks interpret their bills if they're curious. A dollars per kW charge only happens if you're on the LG rate. If you're a small business and you're on that threshold where you're kind of almost below or almost above 3,000 kWh, we'd love to help you and find out if there's a way to get you to that small general rate by doing some efficiency projects. And if you're on that large general rate, we'd love to help you manage not only your electrical demand, but your peak demand, because you're being charged $20 per kilowatt on that worst 15-minute period of your month whenever you have the most equipment running at the same time. So we're here to help you reduce demand and electric usage. And to that question earlier of kWh per person, it's just for net zero energy, maybe we're trying to get from, for a small commercial business, 3,000 kWh a month to 1,500 kWh a month. That would be that, that 50% reduction in energy usage. We can go into the finer details of energy and total energy usage, but that's sort of, at least I thought I'd throw out there, that's sort of the amount of kWh a commercial business uses, depending on whether they're small or large. So the larger ones can use 10 times that amount, but that's the threshold.
Great, thanks, Gretchen. I see another question here from Catherine over at French Freeman Architects, member of the Burlington 2030 district, asking if there are incentives for replacing windows in a commercial building. She said that they're currently using gas heating, but also are exploring switching to an efficient heat pump system that allows heating and cooling and would allow them to use, electrify their system.
So that sounds like a new construction or major renovation project. And I'd love to see if Chris Burns could be made a panelist if he wants to chime in on that question before I answer it. I can answer about our new construction incentives and how that relates to heat pumps and envelopes, building envelopes. Just give Adam a moment in case Chris is ready to answer that question.
Yeah, Chris, I've set you up as a panelist.
If you would like to answer it, feel free
Yeah.
to chime in. I'll speak while Chris decides. Our new construction incentives and major renovations of existing buildings are based more on a whole building energy savings model. So yes, if that building is electrifying, i.e. you're going to hopefully minimize the amount of fossil fuel heating and use the gas as a backup primarily, then we would, yes, want to help incentivize the envelope improvement to the existing building. And that incentive would be packaged in together with a number of other incentives. Basically, the new construction program works to incentivize the electricity savings alone, and that is based off of an energy model, and the energy model would reflect whatever adjustments and improvements you do to the envelope. So that's how you kind of get paid for replacing windows in a commercial building, is by modeling the proposed building to have better windows and showing us the electricity savings. And then you can also get incentives for envelope commissioning, as well as mechanical, electrical, and plumbing commissioning to ensure that we actually achieve those savings.
Yeah, I've joined everybody. If you can hear me, this is Chris Burns.
Thanks, Chris.
So Gretchen, I think you're spot on. But to Freeman, French, and Freeman's question, if you're not doing anything else to the building and you just want to do your windows, and I believe Mike Gifford could chime in here as well for gas heated buildings, the energy savings relative to the cost of replacing windows in, you know, a home or a larger building, it doesn't make it to the top of the priority list, because the return on investment, the simple payback, however you want to talk about it, does not look very good. There's a lot of great reasons for replacing windows, but short, quick, strong energy savings is not one of them. But as Gretchen said, we can take a look at it as part of a more comprehensive package. And I'd be interested if Vermont Gas has a take on it.
I think I'm on. So yes, Chris, I think you nailed it right on the head, especially when you start considering some of the low cost of gas heating. That being said, there are kind of comprehensive ways, and without divulging too much, I have worked with somebody at Freeman French Freeman based on Vermont Gas's comprehensive energy audit that was performed a few years ago, and I know you're doing some of the work there now. If this window project is kind of tied into that, there's additional benefits for the infiltration savings. So the natural infiltration in the building, sometimes doing these window improvements will reduce the natural infiltration in the building. And so that becomes where the incentive kind of sits as kind of a comprehensive piece of the project, along with some of the other pieces that are like the sill insulation and other air sealing measures, not specifically for windows, however, based on exactly what Chris was pointing out. That's really what I have to say about that.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, both Chris and Mike.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
there's another question that came in saying, I'm a Vermont business owner. Is it free to join the Burlington 2030 district? What about those property energy plans that I referenced? If I'm a Burlington 2030 district member, are PEPs free? Should I wait until the COVID-19 crisis has abated, or can I become a Burlington 2030 district member now? How do I join? Great question. Thanks for that, Jen. As a member of the Burlington 2030 district, your organization will have access to industry knowledge, connections, and resources that help increase your property's value and market competitiveness while reducing costs. It is free to join. All properties in the city of Burlington are welcome to participate, and I welcome folks, if you are interested in joining the Burlington 2030 district. We're accepting new members on a rolling basis. Please feel free to reach out to me, and I am happy to share with you our commitment letter, which really just states that you as a property owner are committed to working towards the Burlington 2030 district goals of reducing building energy consumption, water usage, and transportation emissions 50%. What about those property energy plans that I referenced? As I referenced and mentioned, customized property energy plans is one of the really fantastic, invaluable benefits of joining the Burlington 2030 district. At this time, we're able to offer, one property energy plan for one of your buildings. This is a customized property report, which includes an energy benchmark for each property, a summary of findings, and a roadmap addressing opportunities for property owners or managers to meet building energy reduction performance goals. And hopefully our goal really is that this customized property energy plan, or PEP, as we like to refer to them as, will help you to make informed investment decisions. We really have a suite of really great benefits of joining the Burlington 2030 district as well. So please feel free to reach out to me, and I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have and help you to officially become a member so that you can receive some of these great benefits. Any other questions from attendees that we can help answer? Thank you again to everyone for joining us during this early afternoon hour. Again, I hope everyone's doing as well as can be and staying healthy during this challenging time, I know, for many. And thank you so much to all of our Burlington 2030 district members for your commitment and continued commitment to work towards the Burlington 2030 district goals. We're really grateful for your participation and look forward to contributing to the important vision that the city has in terms of working towards a net zero energy future. Any other questions from folks or thoughts from any other panelists?
We have one in the chat. I'm going to go back to the page about green stimulus. Becky asked if there was information about the e-bike or e-car, electric car incentives. And this is the link that I would recommend to use. I'll put it in the chat as well. And this is where you're going to find out when we get approval from the PUC to launch these expanded incentives and access this funding, how we're going to disperse it, the details of what things qualify. So Darren spoke a bit about EV and e-bike incentives, and if he's still on, I'd love if he's got more details to offer, feel free. But right now I'm just going to offer this link as the place to get more details once we have approval to disperse funds in an innovative and new way.
Yeah, hey Gretchen, I'm happy to provide some additional detail in terms of the EV and e-bike incentives. On the EV side, what we've proposed is taking our $1,200 incentive for new electric vehicles and boosting it temporarily to $1,800. And that has not yet been put into effect, but we're hoping to be able to offer that in the very near future. And that would be for a limited period of time, perhaps 3 months or so, where we'd be able to offer that bonus incentive essentially for EVs to help folks make that choice. And that's in addition to any federal incentives and state incentives that are out there as well. So you can potentially package those together and get a very good deal on an electric vehicle. On the e-bikes, we currently offer a $200 rebate at a number of the local bike shops, and the new program, which is now live and available, it's on the website that Gretchen linked to, is a partnership between Old Spokes Home, Burlington Electric, and Opportunities Credit Union, where low and moderate income customers who are eligible can go to Old Spokes Home and get an e-bike at cost with our incentive included in that. So it's a much more affordable purchase, and then finance the cost of the e-bike in affordable installments through Opportunities Credit Union. So for folks particularly who are looking to use an e-bike for transportation and are income eligible for that program, that's the new e-bike program that has been launched as part of the Green Stimulus.
Thanks, Darren. Any other questions from folks before we wrap up? There a question from David? I just saw a little hand go up. I'm not sure if Adam, I'm not sure if we're able to allow David talking permission so that he can ask his.
Yeah, go ahead, David.
I think David's just muted. Okay, now you're not.
Hi, I'm David McFeeters from the First Unitarian Universalist Society, and I missed the first half of this, and I'm wondering if it will be available later as something I could stream.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks, David. Indeed, we are recording this webinar, and we will be able to share this with you and anybody else who's interested in viewing it in its entirety again.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm going to be uploading it to YouTube as soon as we're done here. It should be up early evening, hopefully by 5 or 6 o'clock at the latest.
Through the Burlington Electric?
It'll be on the Burlington Electric YouTube channel.
Okay.
Or or you'll be able to see it through the Burlington Resource and Recovery Center website.
Thank you.
And I imagine it'll also be on our Burlington Electric social media channels and Burlington 2030 social media channels, and probably in an email following up with people who registered for this webinar. We definitely want people to see the whole thing. So thank you for attending.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions from folks? Okay. It looks like, okay. I think that's all. Well, thank you everybody so much for being here. Thank you so much to everybody, our panelists, Gretchen and Darren. Thank you so much to everyone else who chimed in with helpful information. It's really wonderful to gather in this strange new way and see some familiar faces. Again, I hope everyone is doing as well as can be, and thank you so much for being part of this. If you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to help point you in the right direction to take advantage of some of these really excellent resources that are available in our community. Gretchen or Darren, do you have any closing words before we all sign off?
I want to say thank you again, Jenna, and thanks everybody for participating. This was great, and we look forward to following up with folks who have interest through the website, through the phone numbers and emails that we've shared.
Wonderful.
Thanks for coming. Yeah, that's it. And if you need help, Energy Services is here to provide advice and money.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful afternoon.